The Indiana Basketball Weekly Show on the Gruely Truth Sports Network. As always, the Gruely Truth is powered by betting.net. Betting.net is your best bet for finding the online or casino sportsbook that is right for you. Head over now. Check out betting.net to bet all the games today. I am your co-host for the Indiana Basketball Weekly Show, Mike Goodpaster. Right now, I'd like to welcome in my co-host, 1981 national champion, a member of the Indiana Basketball Hall of Fame, Steve Risley. How you doing, Steve?
Doing great. Hey, just as a kind of a sidebar before we start, watched a whole dissertation on the expose on the news this morning about how the California legislature had given all the gaming rights to the indigenous people, basically the Indian reservations.
Yeah.
And they have 4 or 5 casinos set up across the state, probably more, but 4 or 5 in the Southern California area, that all the gaming is done through there because they do not allow online sports betting in California. Well, now the legislature is realizing how much money they can make off of online sports betting, and now they're trying to pass legislation to allow online sports betting in California. So that would be a huge windfall for companies like betting.now, which I know
.net.
.net. God darn it. I wrote it down. Betting.net. I am so sorry.
Make sure you're looking at it when you say it.
I know. I got to start just looking at it. Dadgummit. Betting.net. However, they are working feverishly to pass legislation, and then, of course, the reservation population of California is all up in arms because basically people aren't going to have to go to a casino to gamble anymore because they'll be able to do it through companies like betting.net.
There you go.
Go to FanDuel or Caesars Sports Palace, Sportsbook, or any of those. And that's a great windfall for all the online betting corporations because California is the 3rd largest state and the most populous state in the United States.
Yeah, you can't bet on a game, but you can get high.
Yeah, isn't that a crazy? You cannot bet on a game, but you can get high in California.
All right, and I don't get high, but if I was going to last night, probably would have been a good time to do it as the Indiana Hoosiers fell 82-53 to Saint Marys. And I wrote an article that was up on the Gruely Truth today, and I think this is just a matter of playing 5 games in 8 days, and all the games were against top-notch competition. Saint Marys, I think, was the best of the 5 teams they played. I don't think it would have mattered how much rest IU would have got they'd have lost, but I think it's a damn shame that you take a team that worked this hard, Steve, and basically take away any chance to win the game because of the circumstances. I mean, you had the NCAA screwing up the plane issue, which the NCAA gets from each team how many people are going to be on that plane. There was no reason for that. Indiana didn't get to Portland until the next day at 8 o'clock, so within 36 hours, they have to play St. Marys. St. Marys is one of the top 20 teams in the country. I think they're going to beat UCLA, and if they don't, UCLA is going to have to play their ass off to beat them. And I just think it's a shame that the season had to end this way because, like I said, I think St. Marys is a better team than Indiana. But they're not 29 points better. And it's March Madness. Even if you're the better team, maybe you win with that. And I think this all stems. We watched Iowa yesterday, Steve, lose to Richmond. We watched Illinois last year lose in the second round. They were the Big Ten champions. And even though you've got 3 days off, after Iowa had played 3 down-to-the-wire games in the Big Ten tournament, it was hard for them to be able to play even on a Thursday. So my question to you is, why aren't the first 4 games just played the weekend after the conference play or conference tournament, and then the first round starts on that Thursday? I mean, everybody has a fair chance. Everybody's rested. Everybody's ready to go because, to me, are you even getting a legit champion when you do it like this?
Yeah, there are some. I look forward to reading your article. Of course, it's only 9 o'clock here, and we're a little bit behind, 3 hours behind. So I look forward to reading your article. I'm sure it's going to be good. I encourage everybody to read Mike's article on that because we had a very spirited discussion on that last night, post game, and Mike and I agreed. Our spirit was directed at the NCAA, not at each other by and far. But this is a faux pas in so many fashions. First off, I want to say this is the stat sheet for the game. there's not a lot of sense in going over this because this entire stat sheet speaks to one thing, and it's tired legs. Basically, every place you look on here,
except for free throws, we shot free throws really good.
Well, that's the only thing we do resting is shooting free throws. 34% field goal percentage, 26%, 20% 3-point. Got out rebounded by 11 rebounds, 13 turnovers, which is as high as I've seen this team make. I mean, every stat on this sheet just says, and I know because I've played this. I mean, I've lived this, Mike. You lived it as an athlete, and you see your team live it as a coach. Teams do just get tired, and the grueling schedule that Indiana had leading up to this game, there's no way these kids, I don't care if they are 20-year-old studs in great physical shape, that's a hell of a lot to ask for a team to play 5 of that caliber of game in 8 days while traveling all the way across the country, basically. Now, let's get to the nuts and bolts of why this all happened. Let's have a discussion on this, Mike.
It's money. Money's why it happened.
Money's why. It's right. It's the NCAA and the Big Ten looking to make money. First off, why is the Big Ten the only conference that ends their damn championship on Sunday, minutes before the selection show starts?
Okay, they're not the only one because you got one that plays at 1 o'clock too. But the point is this:
well,
they were told
Power 5 conference.
Hold on, because I looked this up, and the thing that's concerning to me is this. It's basically CBS and the people at the TV contract want a championship game to lead in to Selection Sunday. So they're picking Indiana. Well, how about this? How about, like I said in the article, why not play the conference championship game on a Friday night, if nothing else? Do the selection show on a Saturday. Then you can play the first 4 on Tuesday. Everybody gets a few days extra rest. I mean, right now this is about money. It's not about competitive fairness. Right. It's not about the health and safety of the kids. And that's a joke.
You and I addressed this. You and I addressed this last night when we were having a fun conversation about this. Why the hell not play the playing games like Indiana and Wyoming? Why didn't they play that playing game in Portland?
I can tell you why.
Why didn't they? And every team like Notre Dame and Rutgers should have flown out and played that playing game in San Diego. So the winning team doesn't have to travel and have a screw up on airplanes. Why the hell we're letting the NCAA get us airplanes when Indiana has a perfectly good airplane anyway? I get some colleges don't, and help those people. But for Indiana, just pay their damn jet fuel and let them use their own aviation, which they get right every other game the entire season, and don't sit in an airport till 4 a.m. to board and not get into Portland till Wednesday at 9 o'clock in the morning. Half your luggage is still in Dayton because they couldn't get all the luggage on the plane. It's a total screw up. It's an absolute total screw up. But this is all about the NCAA. Now, backtrack on me, Mike, and give us a reason why they have to play those games in Dayton. And why
I would say
take those games and split them up and just marry them into the regions that they've been assigned to play in, and let them play that playing game on where they're going to play their Thursday or Friday game.
Well, I would think it is about money. I mean, how about this? If you're going to take...
So you don't have an actual reason why you're speculating.
No, I'm not speculating. What I think is this. The thing that would make sense here would be to take the four 16 seeds, make them play a first 4 game, or all the first 16 seeds.
Why are the 11 and 12 teams playing games?
I can tell you why.
Why aren't the 16 seeds
there is no place in the world where Texas Southern against Texas A&M Corpus Christi and whoever, Wright State and Bryant, they're not selling out a place on their own. Now, Wright State might have because it's in Dayton, it's where they play. But if you take that, nobody's watching on TV. But if you put Indiana, Wyoming over top of this one, and you put Notre Dame and Rutgers over top of this one, then you've got an event people watch. Because nobody's going to watch this crap if it's just a 16 seeds. And I mean, that's no disrespect to them. But the reason I watched Texas Southern and Texas A&M Corpus Christi.
Because it was on.
Well, that's one of two reasons. The main reason I did it was because I bet on Texas Southern and gave the 3 points. I mean, that's it. So without Caesars Sportsbook or FanDuel, I probably don't watch that game anyways. I wait till the Indiana game comes on. But the thing is, it would cost them money, and I'm sure that television controls what the first four is. So you had Indiana and Notre Dame, who have huge national followings in every sport, basically.
Yeah.
And you put them on in prime time, you get good ratings.
As does
There you
Rutgers,
go.
which is an East Coast team.
I don't know if Rutgers has a huge national
Well,
following.
that's an East Coast
but-
team. People are going to watch it out there. It's New Jersey.
Yeah, but the
Rutgers
problem
a
is
big
this.
school. Rutgers is a big school.
But this is the thing, Steve. If you put Rutgers and Notre Dame on Wednesday night in San Diego, half of that place isn't even filled, probably. Because you have the selection tournament show on Sunday night. Who in the hell could get a flight and a room within 48 hours and be there to watch the game? You know, you put it in a centralized location,
Yeah.
and usually you've got at least one or two Midwestern teams in there. You get a crowd. There's no crowd for watching the other thing. And I know the Big East for a couple of years did it where they would play the Big East tournament a week before everybody else played their conference tournaments. But the kibosh was put on that by TV Money, who basically told them, you can't do that anymore. We need you playing on this weekend where we've got the most people watching and we can get the most advertising dollars. This is about nothing but advertising dollars. That's what the NCAA has always been about. It's what they'll always be about.
Yeah. All right. Now, so we have to agree on that. It's about making money. It's not about the athletes. You know, this whole thing about the NCAA swearing up and down through their teeth from years saying our first priority are the student athletes.
Well, the fact that it should be the athlete, they should call it the athlete student because it's not student athlete because
it's
student is not what comes first.
Yeah, it's not what comes first. It's the athlete. And, you know, and then now address to me, why on earth do we just not have the 16 seeds play their way in? Why are the
I just
11,
told you
12
because
seeds?
nobody will watch it, and that hurts TV ratings. And then you just dropped how much the contract is. Steve, would you have watched all the 16 seeds play each other to get into the tournament?
Being a basketball junkie like I am, a college basketball junkie, I probably would have. Because out here the games come on at 4:00 in the afternoon. So right now, the pool's not open yet, so you're not out playing in the pool or doing anything like that right now. And I would definitely, I would probably watch the games, but I understand I'm a minority in that. I understand your point and get there, but I don't know. You've got to come up with some other gimmick and tie some other gimmick into it. I
had to sneeze, Steve. That's why I dropped off real quick.
Oh, no problem. I thought you were totally disagreeing with me again as usual.
No.
Or betting.now.
.net.
.net. God, see, I did it again. Betting.net, and it just called you and said, fire the son of a buck because he can't get betting.net right. So I thought
you gave a great presentation on California and legalized sports betting, though, so that dug you out. You're good.
It dug me out of the hole, thank God. And I hope that they get the sports betting, online sports betting in California, because that would be a big boon to everybody. Anyway, there are just so many things wrong. And the sad part is you really don't see that until it happens to your team. I mean, I never realized it was this bad. I just assumed Indiana flew their plane to Dayton. There's a nice big airport, an international airport in Dayton. Land to go play the games, come out, get on their jet, and take off and fly to Portland with it.
And instead, they spent 4 hours at an airport from midnight to 4 in the morning.
4 in the morning, after having played now 4 tough basketball games.
In 6 days at that point.
6 days. These kids are dead tired to begin with. They're sleeping or resting, whatever they can, in airport seats. And if you've ever done that, and trust me, I've spent many a night in an airport waiting for because I missed my flight or lost a connection. It had to wait to go the next day. That's no fun either. So it's just beyond me, the whole concept of what they put these kids through for the benefit of television. It's just
Well,
these guys
it's
are
the
just,
same thing when you do the Monday or Tuesday night game. It starts at 9 or 9:30 at night.
yeah, 9:30 at night game, and these kids got to turn around on a day later, 1 day rest and a day later, and play another game. I mean, I understand endurance is a part of sport. I get that, but come on now, we're cramming a lot of stuff into, and Indiana is an incredible testament to what happened right here through this entire process. Somebody at the NCAA headquarters needs to take a look at what the plight of Indiana this year and say, did we do them justice? Were we fair to them?
But the problem is they don't care, so they're
No,
not even
I
going to
know
look
they
at it.
don't. And you know what? They're like Ma Bell. They're like cable companies.
And I can tell you this:
live,
how much was this brought up during the last 10 minutes of the game last night?
What? None really.
Okay, so see, my issue is this, and I apologize.
It was brought up that the IU was playing on tired legs.
And I apologize, but see, it was brought up once, but it should have been brought up a lot. They should have talked about this because now you've got.
The announcers aren't going to say anything.
I know because they're paid by the NCAA.
Jim Spinarkle's on the air one time a year. They pull him out of mothballs for the big dance because they can't get enough other guys to come and do it.
Yeah, so the point is
They're not
this.
smart enough to get guys. They don't want guys like you and me going on there and broadcasting the games because we'd be sitting there spitting this stuff out right during the broadcast of the game.
Yeah. And I only asked because I didn't see the last 10 minutes because my second favorite team was playing at the same time in a close game. And, of course, my second favorite team is whoever's playing Kentucky Wildcats. Because, really, if Putin invaded Kentucky, I would cheer for Putin. But what the hell are you going to do?
And I encourage people to, because I know Mike did a lot on them. I encourage you to read Mike's article on this because I'm sure it's going to be good. Because Mike and I had a pretty serious discussion.
And nobody from ESPN is going to write the damn thing. So
no. Nobody that's tied to the NCAA at all. Oh, you're not going to find that on The Grueling Truth. Where the smart people speak, with me being the exception. So, but this
we got Dan and Joe too, Steve.
Okay, you're right.
Okay.
Well, I elevate now. I'm now an 11 and 12 seed, but I'm still in a playing game with those same clowns. So
yeah, well, they're the 16 seeds battling to get beat by Kansas.
Exactly, or the 15 seed ready to beat Kentucky.
And I'll tell you, last night we saw Akron almost upset UCLA, which
that game went to the wire.
If you followed my article, I did tell you to take the points at Akron because Akron's pretty good. But the thing that stood out to me, really, even though IU was tired, I've only seen Saint Marys play a couple times this year. One of them I saw them beat Saint Marys, so I knew how good they were. But that team is legitimately good as hell. I mean, they shoot the ball well, they move the ball well, they play as good a defense as you'll find. Yes.
Very well coached team. Another coach who has turned down multiple offers to go to other places and has stayed put there. I don't know what it is with that conference, but all those guys like it out there. They like playing each other. Must be a lot of good sportsmanship, a lot of good quality basketball. Truthfully, Saint Marys plays a style very similar to Fuse team.
Gonzaga. I think the difference. I think that Saint Marys is a little bit more physical team.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Saint Marys is a lot. I mean, they usually are. They just don't have the shooters usually to deal with Gonzaga. They did this year and actually beat Gonzaga once. But that's what I told you. I think Saint Marys is the best team Indiana played this year.
I don't know at this point, Mike, that I could disagree with you. I think Iowa was pretty good.
Yeah, but Iowa is they're not a great defensive team, so they're basically shooting a three. And let's face it, Keegan Murray is most of Iowa. That kid's a stud.
Yeah, and are we done ranting and raving about the NCAA and all the faux pas?
Yeah.
At this point, well, I think what they need to do, and of course they're not listening to me. They don't listen to this show.
They don't listen to anybody except for the people that are paying them.
But they need to go and not say we're going to provide you a plane. It's like, do you want jet fuel or do you want a plane? Because a lot of these bigger programs have their own plane.
Or what you could do is just get a big enough plane. I mean, they knew how many people are going to be on the damn plane. If you can't do it yourself, let the other team do it.
Yeah, I was a transportation minor in the Kelly School of Business at IU. I was a management administration major, and I took transportation as my second subspecialty, and I understand the logistics part of it about weight ratios and shifting and making sure you get the proper storage, create proper room, cargo, everything on an airplane, on a bus, on a semi. They taught you all that stuff at IU, how to do all that stuff. And if Indiana sends a manifest to the NCAA and it tells them how many seats they need to fill, how much cargo they're going to be taking, they're taking the band, they're taking the cheerleaders. So we got tubas we got to store, and we got player equipment and uniforms, although Indiana never wore their white uniforms in this entire tournament. How about that?
Yeah. That's what happens when you're in a play-in game and you lose the coin toss to be the.
Well,
it also
they were the lower seed.
Well, they were the same seed, but they were lower on that line, which is absolutely a joke because I think Wyoming's a good team, but how in the hell would Wyoming be considered better than Indiana?
Yeah. No,
because really, I thought Indiana was playing on fumes against Wyoming. They won that game on heart alone.
Well, they won that game because they were just more talented than Wyoming.
And this is the thing.
They were playing on fumes there, too.
Put it like this. I know IU fans catch hell for being a little over-cynical, which I held off until that Purdue loss this year. But the thing that drives me nuts here is this. When you look at this season, this was the best season we've had in over half a decade. I mean, if you'd have told me at the start of the year, Indiana's going to beat Purdue, they're going to win 2 games in the Big Ten Conference Tournament, make it to the semifinals, and win a game in the NCAA tournament, I would have taken that in a heartbeat, even with the loss to Saint Marys. I think what Coach Woodson did, and you've heard people talk about when he talked to this team a year ago and asked him who was all in, nobody raised their hand. So he had to start from scratch here, and it took a while to get it there. But I think what we saw at the end of this season is very promising for what's going to happen over the next 5 or 6 years. I think that we're in good hands with Coach Woodson. I think this team is in excellent shape. And just hold on. We got a Joe. IU should have been playing in Indiana.
Let me address that. Well, we can both address it. No, they won't do that, Joe, because of this reason. They claim that gives an unfair advantage to Indy to play in Indy in front of what would be considered an absolute fan favorite crowd. IU would be the darling in Indy. The last time that actually intentionally happened was when we won in 1981, and actually the Mid-East regionals were at Assembly Hall.
Well, actually,
so we got to go back and play the entire regional in our own gym. We slept on our own beds. We didn't have to worry about airplanes. We didn't even have to worry about parking.
That wasn't the last time, though, Steve.
Was it not last time?
1984, Kentucky played the Sweet 16 at Rupp Arena. 1987, the Indiana Hoosiers, who were the 1 seed, beat Fairfield and Auburn in the first 2 rounds at the Hoosier Dome. 1988, you remember when Kansas did their miracle run? They actually played their first 2 games. It was in Nebraska, which is about the same thing. And you've got teams today to do, too. I mean, you've got Vermont and UConn playing in Buffalo. I mean, that's within an hour or so of everybody. So they still do it. But, I mean, the thing is this. You can't be – I mean, Kentucky played in Indianapolis, too, right? And I think this. If you have a better season, they may let you play close to your home. But if you're 11 or 12 seed and you've lost 13 games, I don't think you have a bitch. Else. You go wherever you go. My issue is with the competitive. I mean, it's just not fair. I mean, you take a week off. You know, you give them a week off, you play the first 4, then you go into the tournament, you give everybody a chance to recuperate, because if it doesn't matter if you're a 1 seed or a 16 seed. If you're in the tournament, you deserve a fair opportunity to be able to win your games. Well, and that was not given here.
And we talked about that, Mike, last night as well. Why not just do what the NFL does with the Super Bowl? Take 2 weeks.
Well, you don't need to take 2 weeks, but it's also football. You can't play back-to-back football games.
Because what you could do then, Mike, is rather than play the play-in games on the Tuesday following conference,
play it on that weekend.
Play it on the next weekend.
That's what I just said, Steve. I said start the show.
And then have your media days all set up for media at all sites where everybody's going. Have like the NFL has a media day where you set up in booths everywhere out on the court, and you got the 4 teams playing or 8 teams, whatever. You set times up. You have media thing that whole week, and then the Thursday and Saturday of the second week, you start the tournament. I mean, you could spread this out to where you could fill the time on a 2-week slice. It really wouldn't even be 2 full weeks.
No, it'd be a week and a half.
Week and a half, because the tournament would end on a Sunday, like the Big Ten.
And the first 4 could play on Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah, then the next Saturday and Sunday, the first 4 play. You have your selection show that Sunday night, if you want to, right after the Big Ten championship. Then you designate your last 4 in, play them the next weekend, and then they got time to get to wherever their designated sites are, get acclimated in the hotel, the whole story. But it just seems to spread it out 1 more week wouldn't do any harm at all, I don't think. We're all kind of sad on the 1st of April when the tournament ends anyway, because really nothing happens. Now you've even got baseball shut down for 2 weeks later, so you don't even jump right into baseball. You got 2.5 weeks before the USFL starts or the NFL draft or anything. You got that lull where you got to rely on NASCAR and golf.
Oh, God.
I know.
That's white privilege right there. 2 weeks of golf and NASCAR. It is not very good privilege, but that's all right, because you and Joe do a NASCAR show, and you guys will have it, next Wednesday night? Joe,
yes,
if you're listening?
Will.
All right. Yeah. So, I would say overall this season, I think, was a major success.
I do, too. I applaud Mike and his entire staff. I think they learned a lot as the season went along. I think Mike became a better coach virtually every game. And while there's always mistakes made, we all make mistakes in everything that we ever do. But Mike progressively got better. I thought his substitutions got better. His strategies and there was nothing wrong with them. They just got better. I think where Indiana needs to work now is they need to bolster that preseason schedule.
Yeah.
Okay, they've got to make that stronger. And I'll tell you what they've got to include. And we did this at IU. They need to have a in the preseason
tournament.
A tournament or even a West Coast road swing.
I like the idea of a tournament. The ones they do in because a lot of times you'll play 3 games in a row.
Yeah.
In 3 days, and it gives you some semblance of doing that. And I think they're missing that. I think.
Well, I don't know if they could this year, because didn't they go play in Bermuda? They played in a tournament in Bermuda in the summer. So I don't know if you're only allowed one of those offshore.
I don't know, but
I don't know either. That's a rule we'd have to look into.
It's the NCAA. They have no rules. They just make the shit up as they go. Whatever benefits them is what they do.
Indiana did not play in a holiday tournament this year. But that being said, I know, we headed out west, or at least as far as Kansas, played out there. We went west on a different time zone. But it might behoove Indiana to say, hey, let's go play Kansas. Let's go and fly on out and play UCLA at UCLA or USC at USC.
They've got to up the level of competition, because the level of competition.
And it doesn't hurt them to go west.
Well, Steve, the Big Ten is not high-level competition anymore. They're like the 4th best league in the country.
No, but Indiana UCLA still would be a big draw anyway.
I'm saying Indiana playing UCLA. UCLA's far better than anybody in the Big Ten. I think they're going to lose to St. Mary's, but that's what I'm saying. Right now, the conference schedule hurts because I think this team would have been in the first four if they'd have been 19-15 and lost to Duke and Kentucky.
Well, that's what Michigan did.
Yes, exactly.
Michigan
and that's why they got in.
Wins and 17-14 record and got in and got a higher seed than Indiana did.
And that's why they got the higher seed. And I have no problem with Michigan getting a higher seed, just because if you look at the resumes, theirs was better. And everybody could say, well, we beat them in the conference tournament. You beat them basically at home in Indiana, and you'd lost at Indiana by 18 to them, a month before that?
Yeah, and Michigan had you down 17 points, too.
Yeah. And really, when you look at it,
was dumb luck.
Yeah, when you look at it, those two teams played 80 minutes of basketball, and Indiana won about 12 of them.
Yeah, that's a great point. They won the last 11 minutes.
Yeah, so I'm not complaining about that. I'm not complaining about having to play in the first four. I'm just complaining about the process of what happens when you do. I think it's highly, highly wrong, and it needs to be fixed, but it won't because there's a lot of things in the NCAA that need to be fixed. Hell, we had Bellarmine, who won the Atlantic Sun Conference tournament and didn't get to go to the conference didn't get to go to the NCAA tournament because they hadn't been in Division I long enough.
Yeah,
that's a dumbass rule. They're the team that did what was supposed to be done to get to the tournament.
All right, Mike, let's do this. Let's wrap this up. Let's go over the game. Take us through the stat sheet. I've got a stat sheet in front of me. We know we're going to attribute all of it to rubber legs.
I'm not attributing all of it to that because I think St. Mary's is really good. The Task kid, he made a couple moves on Trace Jackson Davis, made it look like Trace doesn't want to go to the NBA yet.
It made it look like Trace shouldn't go to the NBA yet.
Yeah. You had the shooters. Come on. They shot the hell out of the ball. They were 10 for 21 from three-point range. Indiana was 2 for 10. I've seen a lot of people wonder why Indiana played so many subs, but I think the reason they played so many subs was the lack of legs. I think Coach Woodson was just trying to get some fresh guys in there. Parker Stewart, he hit a 3 at the start of the game. That's about it. And Xavier Johnson played 26 minutes, 11 points. Race Thompson did next to nothing. He got in foul trouble quickly. Miller Kopp, he
Geronimo
plays 20.
Comes in.
Kopp plays 20 minutes. Terrible. Geronimo was good again.
He's good again. There's a kid that had he stayed healthy and been able to, could have given us more minutes. And
we got nothing out of Trey Galloway. We got nothing out of Rob Tennessee. But like I said, it goes to the team stats because to me, when you're looking, was the team tired? Well, they shot 34%. On defense, they gave up 52%.
52%, yeah.
Legs are huge with three-point shots. They shot 20%. Legs are huge in scrambling to guard guys shooting to three. They gave up
rebounding.
Yeah, they gave up almost 50% there. Now the free throws, 15 for 18. They actually outdid St. Mary's there. Thank God they didn't have an 8 for 18 shooting night, or we'd have lost, by almost 40. And then, like you said, the rebounds, 39-28. There's not been too many teams, I think, to out-rebound us by that much. There have been teams to do it. And the thing, it looked to me almost during the game like Trace Jackson Davis wasn't trying. And I know that would never happen, especially in this situation. His legs just would not cooperate. It's one of those things where his brain wanted to jump and get the ball, but his body just couldn't do it. And I think they forced themselves through the Wyoming game and won that on guts alone. And I think they ran into this team. And for the first 10 minutes, the game was pretty evenly played. Really, the first 15, they were in it. And then the bottom just kind of dropped out. Because I remember texting you at like the 10-minute mark in the first half. And I'm like, dude, their legs look like they're gone. Yeah. And then it's just an avalanche after that.
Yeah, it hit. It's amazing how it hit them all at the same time. And the legs just turned to jelly. And they just went flat from there. And then the game just opened up. I'm not going to beat this team up. I'm definitely not going to beat the coaches up. I think there's far too much positive about Indiana getting to this point.
Yeah, Steve, if you'd have told me before the NCAA tournament or before the Big Ten tournament, IU will win a couple games, make the tournament, win a game, and then get blown out, I would have taken that because I really thought we were headed. I thought we were headed to be the number 1 seed in the NIT.
Well, knowing now, Mike, tie that with the fact that we now know, we didn't know this at the time, that had we not won Illinois, we wouldn't have danced.
You never know with the NCAA. They might have bumped us up to an 8 seed if we'd have lost.
Yeah, if we lost. But regardless, it looked like, because everybody kept saying Indiana was the last team selected in the tournament.
Well, they were.
And the only way we get that is by beating Illinois and taking Iowa to the wire. I mean, we literally were 2 shots away from going to the championship game in the Big Ten tournament.
Yeah, but you know what? If they'd have won that tournament, they probably would have just done an Iowa and got knocked out in the first round because it had been wore out. And I just think the Big Ten needs to do something about this. And I know they can't unless the NCAA lets them, but it's an absolute joke, Steve. But I'll tell you what, the last 6 to 8 shows we've done is as much fun as I've had doing these shows since we started back in 2017.
Very proud, very, very proud of this basketball club. I think some tradition and lore are slowly going to start coming back into this team. I don't say slowly. I think the floodgates opened up in the last 6 to 8 games for Indiana. I think Mike finally found the key. He's opened it up, and I know this team's going to work hard. I'm not quite sure who all they're losing right now.
Well, they only had 2 on senior night, and Ray said he was possibly going to come back. So I think there's a chance to get him back. And the other thing is this: we're not going to kill this show because the season's over either. We're going to try to come back maybe once a week, maybe with some guests to talk about recruiting, or maybe some old dudes like Steve Risley to come in and talk about when they played.
They've heard my stories. We'll find some other.
Yeah, I think it would be cool. No, I meant like you. I know everybody's heard your stories, but nobody's heard your stories with somebody that was maybe your teammate on one of those teams, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So I think it'd be cool to go back and look at the 79 NIT, the 81 finals, 1984, 87. So keep an eye out here at The Grueling Truth because we're going to keep covering Indiana basketball full time where most won't. So, Steve, it's been fun this year.
And are we going to have a wrap-up show next week?
Yeah, I just said we could do an Indiana show every week. So I'm good with that.
Well, I say this time next week, let's do a wrap-up show for Indiana basketball for just wrap up this season. And we'll do our due diligence, our homework, break down the plot lines of how things went for this team, and maybe come a little better forecasting for next season and what goes on, what we think their needs are for recruiting and what they need to bring in. And things of that nature. I'd like to do a show like that. And then we can get into the off-season fun and games. I'll tell you one player I would like to get if I could. I don't know. I've not spoken to him in 40 years. I did text him one time, and that's Butch Carter. I would love to have Butch Carter on the show because you talk about the hero of the 79 NIT, and it was Butch.
Hit the game-winning shot, 54-52.
And Butch certainly had a different perspective when he left IU on IU basketball than a lot of other players who've left did. And I've always respected Butch as a player.
Hell of a football player, too.
Was he? Well, his brother was. Brother was
Chris
Hall
Carter.
of Fame. I could tell you stories what we used to do to Chris Carter. So
save it for when we have Butch.
Yeah, we'll save it for when we have Butch because Butch would get stuck babysitting Chris over the weekend.
Well, it'd be awesome if we have him on the show and he gets stuck babysitting Chris. Then we could have them both on.
But that's something fun we can try and work out during the summer is to get Butch on. I know hardly anybody's ever heard from Butch since he left IU. But anyway, that's just speculation down the road. All in all, Mike, great season. Funnest one we've ever done together, isn't it? We've been doing these since the get-go.
Yeah. And unfortunately, we've been doing it since right after the last time they made the NCAA tournament. So
yeah, it's been at least that long. Yeah, no doubt. But congratulations to Mike. Your first year was a huge success. Got 20 wins under his belt. First season out. Got his team into the dance on the first season. Got to the semifinals of the Big Ten. We hadn't been there in a long while. A lot of accomplishments by this basketball team. You know, had an All-American on our team, and Trace Jackson Davis. Just a lot of good things. Now, and we'll talk about that in the next week's wrap-up show. But so everybody took time to listen to us each time we got on. I know Mike and I both appreciate that, so thanks. So I'll shut up, Mike, and let you wrap it up and
All right.
get us out of here.
Make sure you check out our top sportsbook comparison site, betting.net, which offers extensive reviews on the best sportsbooks out there. Check them out. Just like Steve said, if you live in California, your options are limited where to bet. You go to betting.net, whatever state you're in, it will show you where you can legally bet the game. So make sure you check them out. Also, make sure you link it or hit the description in the show below on YouTube, which will take you to Caesars Sportsbook, which is our top recommended site to bet March Madness on. Me, Steve, and Dan Kornhauser, our beat writer for St. John's, what do they call them now? The Red Men? Or they can't call them the Red Storm. Will be here Monday night to break down the Sweet 16, preview and predict everything that's going to happen there. Me and Steve will be back next week with a season wrap-up show. Make sure you follow Steve at SRisley34. Make sure you follow me at Grueling Truth. And share as much as you can of what we do, because you know ESPN's not going to show you the truth. And they're not going to show you the story, the behind the scenes of why Indiana lost as bad as they did last night, unless we get this information out to people. So we're going to go ahead. We're going to wrap it up. For Steve Risley, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been watching and listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.